away with anything for a time because of their gender. Women can't get away with the things men get away with. I'm sure there are, exceptions to that. Men of white origin can commit abuses against minors for 30 plus years. If they weren't white, they probably would have been caught in half the time. And when your president calls African Americans criminals and women the place that babies come from, and that's all that comes from them, you have a problem. I was just describing Charlie Kirk. Anybody who supports Trump should be kept away from children. You cannot support a child groomer, a graper of women, a person who has utter contempt for female kind, and be anything good. You cannot support Trump and be a good person. Because Trump is the worst stereotype of a man. And you can't support Trump and not be a racist. You're supporting somebody who believes it's morally and legally acceptable to touch women without consent. How do men justify in their head supporting Trump? If you are married or even have a daughter or a niece or a sister, you can't legitimately with a straight face justify voting for a man who would view your own sister, wife, daughter, niece as potential groping territory. And until we see these people for who they are and actually make it so uncomfortable for these people that they won't be this kind of way, or they won't run for office and successfully win, you cannot call yourself a moral, godly person and support Trump. Because if you support Trump, you support Jeffrey Epstein. You support everything that these people do. And there is nothing more racist than ICE leaving their cars and going to arrest people. People who are decent human beings obey the law. They don't get taken to court by every state because they can't obey the Constitution. And I'm not saying that if you elect an Asian president, they're going to be any better than Trump. The odds are that they might have a little bit bigger chance of being a decent human being. But we need to start electing people that are women, anyone from the queer community. We need to start electing minorities. I mean, out of 47 presidents, the only president that wasn't white was an African American. And that was a wonderful thing. But he was still a cis heterosexual man. I mean, what are we so afraid of? The world is going to explode because we elect a transgender president? That would probably make the conservatives' brains explode, though. Especially with the new pope. I remember how the MAGA lost their minds. Not that they have much in it, because you cannot be intelligent, empathetic, and lack racism and support Trump. You cannot care about the welfare of kids and support Trump. It does not compute. You cannot support a man who is a pedophile and say that I love my kids and I protect America. It doesn't compute, as Spock would say. And my family asked me why I'm not a member of the Republican Party. And I said, because the Republican Party, the conservative party, produces 87% of mass shooters. I'm not going to be a member of a party that was founded on every vice known in America. 3 out of 4 mass shooters are people who believe in conservative, right-wing, white supremacy ideology. I am not joining the Republican Party. I don't want any friends that support that kind of egregious, deplorable ideology. And I won't be a part of a political or any institution that views women as detestable. That the only thing they're good for is to be the arm candy of a man who thinks he's a leader because he was born with the right appendages. Being a man doesn't make you a good leader, any more than being a woman makes you a good mother. I've been reading the news lately, and I've seen a lot of mothers getting life in prison without parole sentencing. Because being a human being doesn't make you a good person. If that were true, Trump would be a good person. He's not. So we need to get over the idea that someone's a good leader because they're a man, and that someone being a woman means they're a great mother. We need to get over the archaic ideas that man is good and woman needs to be controlled. Men will never be masculine, happy, and enjoy life until we view each other as equal. People need to stop saying there's 2 genders, that gay people are sinners. Believe whatever you want. Just stop taking it into a voting booth. When I vote for everyone to be equal, have the same advantages, the same protections under the law. My family doesn't vote that way, but I do. If a political candidate doesn't see gay people as having equal protection under the law and wanting to maintain that, I'm not voting for them. The last thing I want is crap in a political platform. I don't give people platforms that are awful human beings. And yes, Charlie Kirk was an awful human being. It doesn't mean that violence is okay. But it does say in the Bible, you sow what you reap. You put hate out into the universe, there's a very good chance it'll come back and, hit you. Not literally, usually, but you inspire people with hateful ideology. Why are you shocked when somebody enacts violence? Violence is not okay. But I can understand why people become violent when people put out hateful ideology. And 87% of violent mass crimes are perpetrated by people who are right-wing, Trump-loving, conservative, God-fearing, God-loving, misogynistic, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic. I mean, you put anything phobic in there and you'd be about right. People who hate gay people are more likely to go to your kid's elementary school than a freedom-loving, protect the Constitution, no king in America adult. I mean, 13% of mass shootings are perpetrated by left-wing people. I never say it doesn't happen, but when the right-wingers start talking about that the left is where the violence is, when the right side is 87%, the mass shooters, they're either lying or they're ignorant. I believe they're lying. You cannot hold a political office, have a college education, be one of the most brilliant people in America, using it for ill or evil, and be that ignorant. They're not ignorant. They're lying. Because if they can stir up enough hate, they gain power. And that's why I always say, a good leader unites people to a empathetic, peace-loving, constitutional, supporting united front. Evil leaders divide and conquer. Evil leaders choose scapegoats like homeless and undocumented immigrants, women, trans people, and gay people as scapegoats. That's what Hitler did. He went after all the people that Trump goes after. He just did it 80 years earlier. That's why I don't trust people that hate homeless, trans people, gay people, because that's very Hitler-like behavior. And we know what happens when you teach hate. Back then, people would smash windows. Now, people buy bullets. If you put hate out into the world, don't be surprised if something bad happens. Luckily, the people who do commit terrible crimes are few and far between. I mean, we've had at least 10 more hate groups come into existence because Trump has come into power. And membership of white supremacy hate groups, far-right religious hate groups have increased 25%. And it's so discouraging. But I believe that in the next few generations, this kind of thing will just not be socially acceptable anymore. And because of that, racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, transphobia, they'll all have to morph into something less political, something